Hey, what's going on, troops? Welcome to the channel Dit Commando. My name's Ryan and I'm a former Royal Marines Commando from the United Kingdom. Today, troops, what have I got installed for you? Well, we're going to be reacting to what would it take to sink USS Gerald, our Ford aircraft carrier. We've done quite a few of these reaction videos to the US military and stuff, so I'm looking forward to this one, guys. I'm going to be really interested to see what it would actually take to sink that carrier, you know, because it certainly ain't going to be easy, that's for sure. But yeah, before we get into this one, you know the drill. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I just want to say thank you to all of you for supporting me, especially the members. Okay, if you want to become a member, click on the link in the description or just press the join button, guys. It really does help me do these videos every single day, okay? And I'm really appreciative of that. And I just want to say one more thing, guys, before we get into it. I really do appreciate all the love I've had of recent. I can't respond to every single comment on all the videos because I'm getting thousands now, which is blowing my brains, guys, even thinking about it. But I just want to say thank you to every one of you guys watching this right now. You are helping my life more than you'd ever believe. So thank you, guys. I really do appreciate it. Words can't even express. So yeah, thanks, guys. And anyway, enjoy this video and give it the thumbs up. Let's go.
The USS Gerald Ford is the world's largest and most advanced aircraft carrier, a groundbreaking ship the likes of which has never been seen in human history, over 1,000 feet in length and displacing 100,000...
Hang on a minute, 337 meters. You are kidding me. Guys, that is absolutely incredible. I've never been on a ship that big. When I was in the Marines, our British military ships were nowhere near that size, all right? That's crazy.
Tons. It's the largest warship ever built by man. But is the Ford truly unsinkable as some claim? And if not, what would it take? Hello and welcome to another episode of the Infographics Show. Today we're taking a look at what it would take to sink the USS Gerald Ford. On the morning of April 7, 1945, the Japanese battleship Yamato steamed toward the American task force invading Okinawa. The largest battleship ever built, the Yamato was the most feared ship in the world at the time. With 18-inch guns that could launch shells over 26 miles away, Japan had spared no expense in its construction, outfitting it with 9 18-inch 45 caliber guns, largest caliber of naval artillery ever equipped on a warship, each capable of firing high explosive and armor-piercing shells. The Yamato...
Right, so this thing is obviously 1945. That sounds horrendous even by today's standards, guys, okay? I mean, it sounds like something out of a horror movie, really. But yeah, what a fearsome carrier that is. And I didn't know it existed, guys. We did a video not so long ago on the channel with regards to the potential plans to invade Japan in 1945, and that's even scarier. All right, if you haven't checked that out, go check it out, man.
Yamato's second battery consisted of 6 155mm guns and 24 127mm guns, as well as 162 anti-aircraft guns for self-defense. In short, the Yamato packed enough firepower to engage 2 or 3 American battleships at the same time. Yet once spotted by American recon aircraft on that April morning, its fate was sealed. By the time the day was done, the Yamato would fall victim to an American air attack of over 300 aircraft, of which...
Wow, so they literally had to barrel this thing with, like bombard this thing with loads of aircrafts just to get it the hell out of there, which is insane. But you know, when something's as big and as prominent as that in the military, the USA do one thing better than everyone. They just put all things into action, all right? They don't mess about.
The Americans would lose only 10. The USS Gerald Ford has drawn many comparisons from skeptical defense analysts to the Yamato. Battleships were powerful and feared weapons of war, and none more so than the Yamato. But they were already being made obsolete by the time the Yamato was in full operation. So too, these skeptics fear that the aircraft carrier is even now nearing obsolescence. And with a...
That's the one thing infographics tends to get a little bit wrong, is it's quite quick to judge maybe something becoming obsolete because of the you know, we all know that drones and stuff are quite prevalent in society now, and is there actually a need for warships of this caliber now? Trust me, guys, the only people who'll really know if they're going to be obsolete or not is the people who are using these things day to day. And I can guarantee you, those people who are running these ships know that they're certainly not obsolete. We absolutely need warships of this caliber, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Let me know what you think in the comments about that.
A further 10 planned purchases and a $13 billion price tag. If they're right, the Ford and its sister ships could end up being a costly mistake for the United States.
I don't think so. Do you think so?
But why do people fear the aircraft carrier is nearly obsolete? The first answer to that question comes from the evolution of the long-range missile. In World War II, aircraft carriers reigned supreme due to their ability to project firepower far out of range of even the mightiest battleship's guns, rendering them all but obsolete. So too now do missiles threaten to outrange the aircraft carrier, with modern missiles boasting ranges of hundreds to thousands of miles while moving at hypersonic speeds. The second threat to the modern aircraft carrier comes from coordinated attacks by smaller surface vessels or drones. Think.
See, I told you guys, so yeah, these swarm attacks from drones and stuff like that, but all that means is the arms race will continue. They will develop new weapon systems to counter that in place. I mean, there's no one does it better than the United States anyways. They adapt, overcome, they innovate to be able to initiate better defense levels and a better offensive levels as well. You know, they'll just do something to counter that 100%. But I think it's wrong for infographics to say that these vehicles, these carriers will become obsolete. I don't agree with that at all.
Swarm attacks. An aircraft carrier is a very big, bulky ship, and it is feared could fall prey to attacks by massive swarms of unmanned speedboats loaded with explosives, or aerial drones on a kamikaze.
That's just a hypothetical situation. Of course it could happen, but you know, this ship is not, he's talking as if it is unmanned and hasn't got weapon systems on. It's got weapon systems on, it is manned, and it will absolutely be able to take care of these attacks. I don't get why they're even mentioning that.
Kamikaze mission to sink the carrier. While well protected from traditional naval or aerial attack, an aircraft carrier is poorly suited to defend against hordes of small attackers. So could either of these tactics work? Just what would it take to sink the USS Gerald Ford? For a long time, the primary threat to a carrier has come from submarines, which are by their nature extremely difficult to detect and target. Yet the USS Ford has a speed of about 30 knots, with a classified top speed. At 35 miles per hour, the Ford is already faster than most submarines, and any submarine trying to speed up to catch the Ford,
or that we know of, we understand that there's a lot of technology out there, you know, it's more so in, you know, the likes of the United Kingdom, France, the United States, that hasn't actually made it mainstream yet, all right? There's certain things that are classified even in the US military in terms of speeds and ranges of different vehicles, okay? Specifically their ships and their submarines, okay? So we don't know that, we just surmising.
Would generate a lot of noise and be very quickly identified by the Ford's escort ships or numerous anti-submarine helicopters, each loaded with dipping sonar and depth charges. While skeptics point back to 2006 when a single Chinese submarine surfaced amidst an American carrier group mid-exercise, it's important to note that the carrier and her escort ships at the time were not actively looking for submarine threats as they had no reason to. While this could have potentially been a lethal vulnerability, a Chinese submarine attacking an American carrier would have been tantamount to a declaration of war. And during war,
yeah, it would have been an absolute act of war. There's no question about that.
Or during the build-up to a possibility of war, the USS Ford and her escorts would definitely be actively looking for subs, making it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to penetrate the entire battle group. The second threat the Ford would face would be from cruise missile attacks. Launched from extreme distances, most cruise missiles are designed to fly low to the ocean on a pre-programmed track before popping up to engage their internal targeting radars and alter course.
Right, I never knew that they were designed to fly low to the ocean as well. Imagine on these planned routes if they actually stumbled across a lone vessel that wasn't meant to be hit. I know the chances of that are quite slim, but hey, it could happen, couldn't it?
Course for a hit. By flying low, the cruise missile avoids radar detection, albeit as soon as it pops up to engage its radar and adjust its trajectory, it would give itself away to every radar in the Ford's battle group. In that scenario, the battle group's Aegis cruisers would coordinate a defense of the entire group, firing salvos of SM-6 or RIM missiles to destroy incoming missiles. With 2 RIM launchers installed on the Ford and dozens across the rest of the battle group, a cruise missile would need to penetrate several layers of anti-missile defense, each extending out for tens of miles. Even if these somehow failed, however, each ship in the battle group is equipped with CIWS Phalanx turrets, chain guns capable of tracking and...
Yeah, I've seen these things, guys, all right? They are unbelievably powerful, especially when you see these things firing at night. It's like a weapon system created in hell. It's like you just don't want to be on the end of that when it's incoming fire. But, you know, these are the kind of weapon systems that these ships do need to have to be able to combat these situations, all right? They need overwhelming fire force, if that makes sense.
Firing on inbound missiles at over 50 rounds a second. The Ford alone has 3 equipped. The best way to overcome the Ford's missile defenses would thus be to launch a large volley of cruise missiles. But cruise missiles have one fundamental weakness. They require a launch platform, either a ship, submarine, or aircraft. With the Ford's 90-plus complement of combat aircraft and 4 ED-2 Hawkeye early warning radar planes, the carrier could cast a protective bubble of surveillance hundreds of miles around the entire battle group. Easily spotted, there simply exists no naval or air force in the world that could survive long enough to get in range of a Ford carrier and its battle group.
Right, okay, what do you think about that? Do you think it's true? I'm going to ask you that question. Let me know. Is it impossible to get near the Gerald R. Ford due to the nature of it having all of those planes and its other capabilities associated with the ship to be able to make it like almost like a protective bubble around it? It's almost impenetrable if all of the assets were used and all of its capabilities. But what kind of situation would warrant that? That's the question, guys. Let me know in the comments.
Even during the Cold War, Soviet military doctrine dictated the sacrifice of dozens of Tu-22M backfire bombers and kamikaze missions against American carrier battle groups. Few, if any, were expected to survive the attempt to attack an American carrier, and the US was so confident of its ability to defend their carriers that their own military doctrine dictated the widespread use of carriers in a conflict against the Soviet Union. Ballistic missiles prove a much bigger threat, however, as they can be launched from thousands of miles away, making their launch platforms difficult if not impossible to neutralize early. While typically reserved for delivering nuclear weapons to major cities, modern ballistic missiles such as those developed by China and Russia purportedly have the maneuverability to alter their course on their descent trajectory, and thus accurately targeting a small moving target such as an aircraft carrier. Yet, while touting its arsenal of hundreds of DF-21 carrier-killer missiles, these types of missiles require long and complex kill chains, made up of several key links that make it possible to A. spot a carrier, B. identify a carrier, C. track the carrier, and D. accurately target a carrier.
Right, so again, you know, this is the thing that, it doesn't confuse me, it just makes it a little bit... Infographics is in the very beginning of this video was talking about, you know, these ships are obsolete now. When they're actually mentioning all of the different ways that you'd actually try to take down this this carrier, most of the means in which they're saying are almost obsolete. Like they've you know, this very thing right here, it's shown that it probably wouldn't be able to sink it. Okay, so it's and not a matter of actually is the carrier going to be obsolete, but you know, a lot of the technology that would be used to potentially sink this thing needs to catch up with it. So if that's a comparison, then actually the carriers aren't going to be obsolete anytime soon. The equipment associated around all of these other things that you would need to bring this carrier down needs to actually be upgraded because they're obsolete.
These links range from aerial radar platforms, tracking satellites, command and control centers, down to the actual missile itself. China has to date not shown the capability to master every link in this long and complex chain. nor its ability to defend these varied assets from attack, which would thus disrupt their entire capability. Even so, a Ford's battle group is well equipped to defend itself from ballistic missile strikes, as proven by recent tests of the SM-6 missile carried by the group's Aegis cruisers. While a saturation strike of dozens of missiles would have a good chance of overwhelming the carrier's defenses, it's unlikely China or Russia could protect the vital communications and tracking elements needed to guide those missiles in the first place, long enough to actually hit a fast-moving Ford carrier. The last threat to the American Ford-class carriers comes from swarms of drones and speedboats.
Now, this is the one thing that, yes, I think some of the technology may need to be upgraded to be able to counter it and combat it, but you know, you look at those chain guns where the rounds just come out almost like a straight line of metal. You know, they're coming out there that quick and that many of them. They maybe need to upgrade those if there was swarms of drones and stuff like that. But it is just a weapons upgrade, guys. And one way I would think instantly of how to combat a swarm of drones is if this ship itself actually had swarms of drones to go out and combat them. So instantly there we've come up with a solution to that. All right, fight fire with fire type things. So I don't think that would be too much of a problem. You know, you just have to upgrade some of the systems and copy some of the systems that you're fighting against. All right, if you're fighting drones, maybe use drones. That's what I would say. What do you reckon? Let me know in the comments. Is that a good idea or not?
Laden with explosives, an emerging and very real threat. Both of these attacks would require a carrier to be operating extremely close to hostile shores, something which a Ford carrier would never do during wartime. A swarm of fast attack boats would likely not have the range to find and then close with a carrier battle group on the open seas. And even if they did, they would have to face a gauntlet of helicopters and escort ships laden with 50 caliber machine guns. While in simulations, swarm attacks against American carriers have proven it can be a devastating threat. As long as the carrier battle group remained outside of coastal waters, it would likely be out of range. Never once to leave it up to chance, however, American defense companies have already begun testing and deploying directed energy weapons and other similar systems to protect from just such threats.
Energy weapons? What do they mean by that? Are they talking like magnetic energy and stuff, or like wow? What do they mean by that, guys? Let me know in the comments.
The USS Gerald Ford is the first in the new line of Ford-class carriers, carrying over 90 aircraft to include 2 squadrons of F-35Cs. Ford carriers will be the most formidable weapons of war ever created. Yet, as technology continues to advance, it may be shifting the advantage to smaller, faster weapons, such as anti-ship missiles, prompting a retaliatory arms race in defensive weapons, such as...
Right, so when I was in the military, we had heavy weapons and anti-tank weapon systems, all right? Never have I heard of an anti-ship weapon. That sounds naughty. That surely couldn't be something that is carried, as you see here, by a man. Or a woman in that in any case. Nah, I can't see that, guys. That would have to definitely be at least a vehicle.
Lasers and railguns. In the end, only combat will prove if the Ford-class carriers will continue to dominate the seas for America and its allies, just as the Nimitz carriers did before them, or if the supercarrier has finally seen the end of its days. Do you agree?
No.
Agree with our analysis? How do you...
No. I don't agree with his analysis. I don't think it's going to be obsolete at all.
You think this would all play out? Let us know in the comments.
Right, guys, let's have a chat about this one. That's I've found a bit of a theme with infographics. It's a great channel, fantastic content, but sometimes the information, me being a former military man, I don't know everything about the military, but you know, some things just don't really make sense. I get why they're doing it. You'll say certain things to spark debate, and this has certainly started a debate in my own brain. I want you guys to carry it on in the comments below. I don't think the USS Gerald R. Ford is obsolete. It would just mean that, you know, whatever relevant threats that it posed, you know, whatever threats were posed towards the ship, you just have to upgrade certain elements of that ship, but not the entire thing. It's not obsolete, you know. Fight fire with fire, don't you, really, like I said. But without further ado, let's just wrap this up. Let you guys comment below. Let me know what you thought of it. And yeah, guys, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And that's it. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.